there, I'm one of the teachers here at Brighton Specialist School, and today I'll be focusing on one of my students, Blake, and sharing with you some of the strategies that I incorporate into my lessons to ensure that I'm meeting his needs. In a moment, you'll actually get the opportunity to watch me take one of the activities within Blake's PE class. But before we do that, I do want to highlight some of the factors that I need to consider to ensure that I'm making an appropriate lesson for Blake. So to design an inclusive and engaging lesson, I need to consider Blake's diverse needs. One of the first considerations is that Blake has autism and can become quite triggered by loud sounds, and this could result in misbehaviour, such as self-harming or lashing out at his peers. He also has quite limited verbal communication skills, and to address these needs, I ensure in my classes that I have headphones for Blake and a visual card with the picture of the headphones on it. And this allows me to give the headphones to Blake if I'm aware that he is becoming quite triggered by the external noises within the class. The picture cards also enable Blake to communicate with me about his own needs. And I also try to incorporate activities that require the students to use their eyes as opposed to their voice. And you'll see in a moment how this works within my activity that I show. And throughout all of my lessons, I have visual cards that assist me with my instructions and a really appropriate communication tool with Blake. And you can access these in the appendices. And where I can, I always provide positive reinforcement for working well with others to model good behaviour within the class. And this is really appropriate for Blake, as he sometimes struggles to work well with others. Secondly, Blake also suffers from asthma, and this requires him to carry a reliever with him during all of my classes. And he also does find running quite challenging. He is quite active though, so I particularly try to incorporate plyometric styles and movements with shorter work periods but higher rest periods. I always encourage movement through the activities with a particular focus on locomotor skills such as walking and skipping, and I do try to avoid sort of that running. He is quite skilled, so I'm always looking at ways in which I can challenge him through the choice of equipment, any rule changes, and these always align with the tree model. Blake is 12, but due to the factors that I've just discussed, he is working at level 5 of the Victorian curriculum. This is because he is quite skilled and active, so he is at a level where he can apply some specialised skills in a range of contexts, as well as starting to physically demonstrate movement concepts and strategies, as opposed to verbally communicating those strategies with me. For today's lesson, I have included a warm-up, 2 activities, and then a cool-down. I always show students a visual breakdown of the lesson activities, and in particular, Blake does really love this sort of structure. With the warm-up, I have chosen a follow the leader style of activity. This is because Blake is more of a visual learner and he thrives off demonstrations and picture cards. With each of the movements, I have provided a picture card so that Blake can visually see the movement that is required. I included dynamic styles of movements such as jumping, but the good thing about this sort of activity is that I can control the work and rest periods, which is particularly important as Blake does suffer from asthma. I've also included movements that require the use of the football, which helps Blake practice his skills individually as opposed to a group setting. So I do like to start off with an individual style of activity first. I can modify the activity easily to suit Blake through the use of headphones or silent rounds to block out the noise. Also harder movements to challenge his football skills and the ability to create his own movements. For the first activity, I chose the activity on-court, off-court rapid passes. This focuses on handballing skills and has students as either passers or taggers. To include Blake into this activity, I plan to start with walking only, with the possibility of changing the locomotor movement to either jogging or skipping if they are a tagger. The good thing with this activity is that there are off-court passes, which allow students to be able to be on the side of the court to handball with a partner, which is good for someone like Blake, as this gives them the opportunity to catch their breath if required. It also gives me the opportunity to provide one-on-one coaching to Blake, which is particularly important in this activity as he is working in the team. Therefore, I'll use this time to encourage him and provide positive reinforcement if he has demonstrated appropriate behaviour with his peers. It also allows me the opportunity to communicate with him, to see if he requires headphones, and I'll also use this time to question him through the use of the whiteboard or visual cards. This is a great activity as Blake can focus on his handballing skills, which he really does enjoy, but also physically demonstrate to me whether he understands the movement concepts and strategies, such as moving away from the tagger and finding that free space, which aligns with the Victorian curriculum. For the next activity, I have planned for students to play a modified game of Run the Circle, which focuses on their specialised skills in a small-sided game. This will be the activity that you'll actually get to watch me demonstrate in a quick moment. But before I do want to go over some of the strategies I considered when planning out this activity. So firstly, again, I have visual cards that show the setup of the activity and the key rules of the game, which supports Blake with his visual learning. I also have a video of the activity to show to students, which also again provides that another element of visual learning. And through my instructions, I have utilised a whiteboard to highlight the key points and have the polydots already situated on the ground so that students already know where to stand, and I can point to them where they are required to stand. To start off with, I will give each group one football and apply the appropriate modifications depending on their level of understanding and engagement. I have a variety of different balls, changes to the setup and changes to the rules that I can implement at any time. Again, it just really depends on how well Blake and the rest of the class are going. As students are standing in a stationary position to begin with, it gives me a good opportunity to walk around and provide individual questioning to students like Blake. As he can become quite distracted, I always ask my questions to him while he's not as focused on an activity, and I can pull him aside and ask him those questions. And these questions will also try to incorporate Blake's favourite players from Geelong. To end the lesson, I always include a cool down, and this allows Blake to calm down before returning back to his other classes. And for the cool down, it is similar to the warm-up style of activity, which was follow the leader. And this sense of familiarity is good for someone like Blake, as he does like routine. It also allows me to set up and explain the activity rather quickly, and rather than the dynamic movements that they did at the start, I have included static stretches, and these are displayed on the picture cards just like at the start. And to keep Blake focused and engaged, I always say to him that the Geelong footy players do this after their games, and this really gets him to think about the importance of a cool down and provides a better context for him. Now that you have a better understanding of the strategies that I tend to incorporate within Blake's lesson, you'll now get the opportunity to watch me teach circle ball, so I hope you'll enjoy that. Blake, you've been showing great teamwork skills, so keep it up. For our second activity today, we'll be playing for 15 minutes. And now we're going to watch a video to help us explain what the activity is. Alright, so now that we've watched the video, so as you saw, we have 2 footballs per circle. I also want you to stand on your polydot just like this. And we are going to handball to the left. So we are handballing to the left. And the aim of this activity is to make one of the footballs overtake the other. Now, some of the things that I want you to remember. So Blake, where should our eyes be focused? Yes, excellent. So our eyes should be focused on the football. I also want you to make sure that we are catching with our hands out in front. So just like this. And lastly, I also want you to stand with your feet apart. Now, before we get started, I want you to now rank from 1 to 5 how well you understand the activity. So 1 being not at all, or 5 being yes, you understand it. Excellent. All right, we'll get started now. So if I could get 1, stand on that polydot, 2, stand on this polydot. Blake, because you've been behaving really well today, I'll get you to start off with the footy over here. 4, 5, and 6 on that polydot with the football. And remember, we are handballing to the left. All right, any questions? Okay, let's start. All right, so this group, I now want you to take 1 big step back. And Blake, how can we now make our handballs even faster like Joel Selwood? All right, yep, so our eyes focused. Anything else? And our feet apart. Excellent. All right, so again, we'll get started. All right, so this group is doing a fantastic job, so keep it up. Now, for a bit of a challenge, we are now going to add an extra footy. So now we have 3 footballs going and see how well you can do. Any questions? All right, so yeah, I'll get you to start. Off you go. All right, so Olivia, if I could get you to take the football into our equipment tub over there. Excellent work. Now, for the next progression, I'm going to get Blake. I want you to now stand in the middle onto this polydot. Excellent work. So Blake is going to handball the football to the outside person, and you are all going to take a step to the left. We are only taking a step, we are not running. Now, do we have any questions with that? All right, so Blake, I'll get you to start. You've been doing excellent with your handballs. Now, I want you to now handball to the outside person, being James over here. He's going to handball back, and this group is now going to take a big step to the left. All right, so Blake, I'll get you to now demonstrate. All right, Blake, it's getting a bit noisy in here. Would you prefer to wear your headphones for this one? Excellent. All right, I'll go get your headphones for you, but everyone else keep playing. Now, can I get everyone to sit down on their polydots? I now want you to rank how well you enjoyed that activity. So 1 being not so good and 5 being awesome. So as you saw, one of the strategies that I implemented was that 1 to 5 scaling. This gives me a good opportunity to see how well the kids are responding to the activities and how well they understand it. And it's also a good communication tool with someone like Blake. I was also going to start off with just the 1 football, but throughout today's activities, Blake has been working really well. And I also didn't want to confuse them after watching that video that demonstrated the 2 footballs. So I decided to do the 2 footballs to begin with, and they seemed to respond really well to that. As you saw, one of the modifications was taking a step back, which increased the distance between the polydots. This really gave me a good opportunity to provide that one-on-one questioning with Blake rather than in that group setting. As you also saw, I asked Blake whether or not he would prefer to wear the headphones. Generally, I would either give him or show him a visual card, but I was also able to demonstrate that with him, and he seemed to respond really well with me asking. For a more comprehensive look at the activities, modifications, and strategies that I utilised today, have a read of the attached lesson plan. But I just want to say thank you for joining me today, and I hope you took something away from today's individual learning plan.